All right, let's dive right in. When I say HR, what comes to mind? For a lot of people, it's paperwork, right? Policies, payroll, but honestly, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Today, we're going to go way below the surface and talk about the hidden strategic power of human resources.
So really, what does HR actually do? When you hear those two letters, what's the very first thing that pops into your head? Go on, think about it for a sec.
I'm gonna guess it's probably something like this, right? You know, the hiring and, yeah, the firing. The mountains of paperwork. Making sure everyone's following the rules. And look, you're not wrong. They absolutely do all that stuff.
But that's really not the whole story. Not even close. That's just the admin side of things. The real story, the part that actually makes or breaks a company's success, well, that goes so much deeper. So let's open up the strategic playbook. This is where we shift our thinking, right? We stop seeing HR as just an administrative department and start seeing it for what it really is, a powerhouse that drives business success from the inside out.
First up, strategy execution. I mean, think about it. A brilliant business plan is just a piece of paper until you have the right people with the right skills in the right seats to actually make it happen. That's HR's #1 strategic job, aligning the team with the company's big goals.
Here's a perfect example. A bank decides it's going to go big into digital. Okay, great idea. But that transition doesn't just happen. HR has to be on the front lines, finding those top-tier IT specialists and, just as importantly, training the current employees so they can use all these new fintech tools. That's not paperwork, folks. That's building the future of the company, one person at a time.
So once you've got the right people on the bus, how do you help them do their absolute best work? Well, that brings us to productivity and quality. This is all about how HR designs jobs, training, and rewards to boost a company's efficiency and, the actual quality of what it produces.
Let's say you're in a factory. HR could bring in something like Six Sigma training, which is all about getting as close to perfection as possible. Then they tie that training to performance bonuses. All of a sudden, employees are motivated to cut down on defects. And the result? It's not just things moving faster, it's better products and ultimately much happier customers.
But performance isn't just about systems and processes. It's about how people feel when they come to work. And that gets us to something you can feel in the air: culture and engagement. HR is basically the architect of the workplace vibe. They can design a place that drains you, or they can build one that truly energizes you. Just think about Google's famous culture of innovation. That didn't happen by accident. It was built, piece by HR. They put policies in place for open communication, for flexibility, for psychological safety. They basically designed a playground for great ideas to flourish. Okay, so we've seen how HR can really push a company forward, but it also has this other massive job: protecting the company right now while also setting it up to grow in the future. Now, being a strategic driver is amazing, but you also have to protect the organization, and that brings us to the critical world of risk management. It might not be the most glamorous part of the job, but think of HR as the shield that guards a company against some really serious legal and financial trouble.
Imagine a high-risk place, like a construction site. When HR rolls out really strict safety training and regular checks, they're not just ticking boxes on a compliance form. No way. They're literally protecting people's lives and, at the same time, shielding the company from potentially devastating lawsuits.
Okay, so what about getting ready for what's next? That's all about innovation and agility. A company's ability to pivot, to adapt when things get crazy, a lot of that comes down to the learning culture that HR has been quietly building all along. I mean, we all just lived through a masterclass in this, didn't we? During the pandemic, which companies adapted the fastest? It was the ones where HR had already put remote work policies in place, the ones that had already been doing digital training. That wasn't just good luck, that was strategic HR in action.
And when you put all of this together, a great culture, growth opportunities, a safe workplace, you get something really powerful. You get the company's employer brand. In today's battle for talent, a company's reputation is everything, and HR is the one building it.
Take a company like Unilever. Year after year, they're a top choice for grads. But why? Because their HR has spent years carefully crafting a brand that screams leadership development and strong values. And guess what? The best and brightest talent just flocks to them.
Okay, let's wrap this all up. What we've really been talking about is a huge shift in perspective, from seeing HR as just an administrator to understanding it as an absolutely essential strategic partner. So if you remember one thing from this explainer, let it be this:
HR is so much more than hiring and payroll. A truly great HR department is a strategic partner. It's the engine that drives execution, boosts productivity, shakes that all-important culture, and fuels innovation.
And this is the bottom line. Without that strategic partnership, a company is just a bunch of people doing their own thing. There's no alignment. Strategic HR is the difference between an organization that's just trying to survive and one that is built to win for the long haul. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. In your own organization, is HR just handling the paperwork, or do they have a real seat at the strategy table, helping to build the future? The answer to that question might tell you everything you need to know about where your company is really headed.